Quite a few years ago, my brother came to me and he said, hey, I want to get you in early on this thing that's about to launch. It's going to be huge. You can share what you're thinking in 140 characters. And I thought, what a ridiculous concept. What is this? Of course, it was Twitter, and it truly was huge. My brother, he's what you call an early adopter. He sees things coming that are going to be big, and he jumps on it early, and he becomes these beta testers for things that are new. And we're grateful for people like that. I am not an early adopter. I want to see, first of all, is this going to work out? And, there's this thing within us that we tend to be driven and excited about what's new. We oftentimes think, man, if we can just get that one more new thing, we can solve all of the world's problems. Well, King Solomon chimes in on this in the book of Ecclesiastes. It's a book of perspective, of existential wisdom. And it's like a mirror. He says, look, here's the reality of things. If you just take all the blinders off, here's the reality of the world we live in. In Ecclesiastes 1, 9 through 11, he says this. Again, it sounds cynical, but it's reality. He says, what has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which one can say, look, this is something new? It was already here long ago. It was here before our time. But no one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow them. He's basically saying, look, we all have this obsession with the new. We think if we can just get one more new thing, it'll solve our problems. But he says, no, there really is nothing new. He says all of these things that we're calling new are just reiterations of things that came before. If you think about when the printing press first came along, if you read some of the arguments against the printing press, people say, well, people will never have to remember anything again. It's all there in paper. They can just go back to the book. What we think of as old now, old technology, was once new, and there were people that rejected it and pushed it away, but there were people who early adopted it. They jumped on the bandwagon early. So King Solomon's saying anything you think is new, it's really not new. It's been around. And this is really important to understand because he says oftentimes we forget those who came before us have already solved a lot of these questions we're asking. We're rehashing them. We're thinking, man, we're in a society right now where we think if we just tear things down, tear everything that's been built, because it wasn't done perfectly, if we tear everything down that's been built, something beautiful and new will emerge. But that's foolish. That's absolutely foolish. It cracks me up, these people that are going, it actually scares me more than cracks me up. These people that are saying, oh, freedom of speech, that's something we need to revisit. I'm saying freedom of speech is what the West was founded on. We think by speaking. If you take away people's ability to speak freely, they won't be able to think. It'll just turn to war, right? These are one of these things we've already resolved. The people that came before us already resolved that. But of course, we in our brilliance, in the new modern day, we think, oh, we're a new, more enlightened people. And we throw out the baby with the bathwater because we go, they didn't get it perfectly right, but we will. Of course we will. And yet, we throw away those things at our peril. We throw away what people before us have figured out at our peril. That's why I think it's really important to read old books. It's also really important to do something. G.K. Chesterton, he said, don't tear down a fence before you first figure out why it was put there. Oftentimes we go, well, this fence is in my way. And we go, well, there's a reason that this boundary was put there. All these societal boundaries that have lasted for generations, and we're tearing them down now. We're fools to tear them down. We tear them down at our peril. Which brings to the second point that I think King Solomon's making. If you want to avoid mistakes, the key is to not forget those who came before you. That's why I say read old books. Read these questions, man. Many of these questions that we're struggling with have already been answered. But we maybe not like the answers. That's what G.K. Chesterton, he also said this. He said, Christianity hasn't been tried and found wanting. It's been found difficult and left untried. A lot of the answers are hard things to do. And we go, well, let's find a new way to get around this problem that doesn't require as much work. Doesn't work that way. And that's what King Solomon's saying. One generation after another, they throw out what the people before them had already learned, the hard lessons they learned, and they try and do it a different way. And they do that at their own peril, at their own cost. The book of Ecclesiastes has so much wisdom for our day. King Solomon, he really lived in the lap of luxury, which honestly is where we in the West, most of us, we live at the level that King Solomon lived at as a king back then. So much wisdom in this book. That's why every day this month on the weekdays, I'm going to be going through a couple verses of Ecclesiastes. I encourage you to follow this channel here, whether you're watching on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever your platform of choice is. Also, I've got a weekly email I send out on Mondays with a little bit of encouragement. You can go to my website, joelmalm.com, and sign up for that. Man, I pray you have a great week. We'll be back tomorrow with more of Ecclesiastes. And don't forget this, man, maybe the answer you're looking for is in something old. Maybe you need to revisit something that you've already known, but you just forgot.